Krishna Krishna Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jivanadari Yashodanandana Pachajana Ranjana Yamunatiro Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givarari Yashodanandana Prajajana Vanjana Yamunatiro Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givarari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatiro Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givarari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatiro Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Gaura Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Askrita. Alright, I'll go straight into the chapter then. So we're reading Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse 69. Let me get it in the book. So, Yanisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Samyame Yasyan Jagrati Bhutani Sa Nisha Pasyato Mane Yanisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Samyami Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani Sa Nisha Pasyato Mane Bhutanam Yanisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Samye Tasyam Jagrati Bhutani Tasyam Mane Yanisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Samye Bhutani Right. Word for word. Ya. What? Nisha is night. Sarva. All. Bhutanam. Of living entities. Tasyam. In that. Jagrati. In wakeful. It's wakeful. Samyami. The self-controlled. Yasyam. In which. Jagrati. Or awake. Bhutani. all beings. Sa, that is. Nisha, night. Pasyate, for the introspective. Mune, sage. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Purport. There are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic men. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialistic activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties or sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self-realization activities undisturbed by material reaction. Omegyantimidandasya Gyanjanjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Guru Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Ragatam Dam Dam Sijivam Sadvedam Savadudam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nai Vishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Kopisha Kopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namotsirke Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vinaya Vaneshvade Vishabhanu Sudadevi Sarvani Hari Priya Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitana bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Shriste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatari Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sari Gaurabhakta Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So, Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for coming. I would like to first of all ask for the blessings of all the devotees in the room and for all the devotees online watching. And thank you also to the seniors for this opportunity, and hopefully I can say something beneficial to all of you, hopefully. So the verse, again I'll read the translation. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So it's quite interesting. There's two ways I kind of saw this verse. So there's the literal meaning as read in the verse. So the literal meaning is, so obviously when the materialist is asleep, the spiritual beings are awake, and when the spiritual beings are awake, the materialistic person is asleep. So, I mean, I was just reading through the verse, and the first line, it says there are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective. Is the introspective, basically. So what I wanted to do is kind of do a bit of a comparison, because I think the verse, what it's really saying is a materialistic person and a spiritual person are kind of polar opposites in this way. So I just wanted to run through. There's many ways in this verse how this is shown. So practically, a materialistic person in the world is out kind of, enjoying so many things, all for sense gratification. So one might be, I don't know, going to clubs and bars and drinking and smoking and doing all sorts of things, or they might just be looking for some money or some position. Or, this is what materialism is. And then there's obviously spiritualists. So we're not spiritualists. They're not so much for sense gratification. They want something kind of higher, So I think like staying here at the manor, a lot of the time, I mean, generally actually, we find if you're quite spiritual, especially as a devotee, you're always keeping busy. You have this long morning program every day. And you have so many things going on. You've got so much reading. You've got so much on. It's just never ending, So most of the time, there's not time for these materialistic things to kind of creep in. I find anyway. So in my own material life, I used to be this way. So I would be going out, enjoying, there's no kind of spiritual kind of thing going on in my life, so I would just be out there, just like everyone else. But so as I got here in January, I was reflecting on this the other day. Like before, I would maybe be waking up at like, I don't know, like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or something like that, And now we're here. I think the devotees in the room can agree. We're waking up really early, so we wake up about 3:30. So then we have morning program at 4:30 until about 9. I mean, that's a long morning, And then we've got so many things going on in the day. Like we're always doing service. So like between morning program and lunch, we've got service and studies. Then we go for lunch, and then we have more service and studies. Then from later on in the day, we have Bhakti Shastri until 6:30, and then after that we've got Gaura Arati, and then after that we're kind of like, maybe I can fit some studying in, And then we go to bed, and then that's it. That's our day. This is the life of a spiritualist. And even when I was at home, I would always see my parents. They would always be doing something spiritual. They would be doing something useful. They would have a sangha. I mean, there was times where I remember my parents they would be sitting in front of their laptop, with all this COVID stuff that was going on. They couldn't go out, so they would just sit in front of their laptop on a Saturday for the whole day, literally doing sanghas. So they literally had no time for anything else. Obviously, you've got to do your duties at the same time, which is fine. That counts, I think, as in the spiritualist class. But generally, there's nothing kind of material going on there, and I think many people live this way. And it's quite nice to see. So I just wanted to kind of draw the comparison in that way. And I kind of wanted to go into a bit of, again, another personal reflection of mine. So I used to work in central London, and as you all know, like central London is just it's ridiculous. Like there's always people running around, and they're always kind of looking for something, something material. They're working so hard, Why are they working so hard, most of them? They want some kind of power, they want some kind of, they want some money, they want to buy these material things, And to a certain degree, we all have this in us, but more, like, there's certainly people who have this more than others. So, as a spiritualist, we tend to do things more for Krishna, or for a higher purpose in some way. And so I was reflecting on this, and there's this quote I always see on social media. I don't know, some of you might have seen it. The quote is, "Too many people are buying too many things with money they don't have, trying to impress people they don't even like." It's such a powerful quote, I found. So I'll read it again. "Too many people are buying too many things with money they don't have, trying to impress people they don't even like." That quote blew my mind. It's just so true. Again, we're just so. Just people are just so caught up in this, all the time we see this, so even in Shastra, we see there's so many examples of this. Let's take Prahlada and Hiranyakashipur, and I know many of the devotees in the room know the story, but maybe for the benefit of some of the viewers online, I'll just do a bit of a summary. So there was a boy, Prahlada. He was a young boy, and he had a father called Hiranyakashipur. And Hiranyakashipur was an atheist, and Prahlada was quite religious. He was believing in the Supreme. And what happened was, again in a summary form, Hiranyakashipur would always be kind of mocking Prahlada about his God, because he was so austere in many ways. And he even tried to do many things, like try to kill him, I guess, a few times, and there's so many things like that. And then kind of towards the end of the story, Hiranyakashipu is mocking God and saying, "Oh, is your God in this pillar also?" And then from the pillar manifested our half lion, half human incarnation of Krishna, Nishingadev, who then obviously destroyed the materialist Hiranyakashipu. And the reason I call Hiranyakashipu a materialist is because he didn't believe in anything higher. He was always on the material. He wanted some kind of power. They say he was actually a very, very strong being. Many demigods was actually quite frightened of Hiranyakashipu, because he used many mystic powers to gain strengths, inhuman strengths. So in that way, he's a bit of a materialist, I guess. It's quite funny. I was researching this story a while ago, and I remember the title of the story was "The Demon, the Devotee, and the Divine: A Transcendental Love Story." So when you're a spiritualist, it's very much how it can be sometimes, So it's quite crazy. Can anyone else think of an example of a story of having a materialist and a spiritualist? I guess there's quite a few from maybe Srimad Bhagavatam. Does anyone know? Think of any? Chagai and Madai, did you say? Yeah, they're very much, they're materialists. Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think of that actually. That's a really good one. Rama and Raman. Yeah, that's a very good one. Anyone else? Kamsa and Krishna, that's a good one. Yeah. So there's many examples. One that kind of came to mind because we're obviously speaking of Bhagavad Gita here. Arjuna Duryodhana. I think they were quite. They were quite. Duryodhana was very much irreligious, because of his, because of his father mainly, because he wanted to obviously take over the kingdom that didn't rightfully belong to him. And then there's Arjuna, who out of duty, and his spiritual duty. He wanted to. He wanted. He didn't want the kingdom necessarily, but at the same time he did. As we read in Bhagavad Gita. But he, out of a spiritual duty, he wanted the kingdom, as did the Pandavas. So yeah, there's much of this in many places, and I was actually speaking to Sutapa about this reflection of Arjuna and Duryodhana, and he actually told me an interesting story. So Dronacharya, he asked Duryodhana, go and find someone who is higher than you. And then Duryodhana went off, and then Arjuna came, and he then asked Arjuna, go and find someone lower than you. And then Duryodhana came back. He said, there's no one higher than me. And in the same way, Arjuna came back, and he said, he kind of said, I'm the lowest, if that makes sense. So in that way, they can be materialists and spiritualists, both kind of opposite. And yeah, like we may, at the same time, we may not think like a materialist isn't kind of outright a demon. Like not all materialists are demons. Like so we can't really just go out and be a bit like. We can't start stereotyping people, I guess, like you're all materialists, so you're the same. No, there's different demonic behavior like that comes from materialism. So the kind of example that came to me when I was thinking about this was one that gambles, So you start off like doing something very material, like something like gambling. So you're taking your money and you're putting it into something and trying to get a return. And then maybe at some point you might get some luck. You might get some real, like a lot of money out of it. And then after that you might carry on. It becomes an addiction. Even though you've got so much money, it becomes addiction. Until you run out of money again, and then when you run out of money, you go and do these catastrophic things. You go and start stealing, etc. So this is how like a materialism can slowly develop into demonic behavior. Like it starts. This is the starting point, So I mean, I'm not saying that we don't have kind of materialistic tendencies, all of us. Like it's human, but we'll come to that later. So the next point I kind of wanted to explore was there's the four yugas, and so in the four yugas we've got Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and then Kali Yuga. So they say in Satya Yuga demons are on different planets. So maybe someone like the comparison I could find is like Varahadev and Hiranyaksha. And then in Treta Yuga, demons reside in the same planet. So the example I came up with was Ram and Ravan. And then Dwapara Yuga, they were in the same family. So as we know, again from the Bhagavad Gita, Pandavas and Kurus. And then in Kali Yuga, they're in the same body. So this is what I was mentioning before. Like we have both the material side and the spiritual side in Kali Yuga within us, And we see this so much. Let me just see. Yeah, so we all have kind of materialistic propensities in the same body, and spiritual. So I mean, not long ago, I remember I was at home and I was chanting 16 rounds. I was following my regulative principles. I was reading. And then maybe all of a sudden I would just go and listen to some rap music, something like that. So we all have these kind of tendencies. Like even living here, like I go on social media and there's many materialistic things I see, and I'm like, oh wow, like look, another materialistic thing. Like I want this, I want that. It's human nature. Well, not necessarily in human nature, but it's in our nature, and the way we can, there's many ways we can kind of get past it. I think like we have to be a bit self-realized and introspective about this. Oh wow, time's going fast. Next thing I wanted to do was the qualities of a materialistic and spiritual person. So again, like not long ago, I was watching this interview between Jay Shetty and Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan asked Jay Shetty, like, you've earned all this money, and so what did the monks think about it? Where you were like obviously a monk before, and Jay was just like, they don't care how much money I earn. Like, they do not care at all. So I found that quite interesting, because you've got someone like Jay, who's like a very like spiritual person, like we all know this, and then you've got someone like Piers Morgan, who's thinking about always thinking about like materialistic things. He's always thinking of like his prestige and how he can be better than other people. Like we find this. So this comparison was quite interesting. Like we see it so subtly in many places. Also, it's not always in our face. Even someone asking a simple question, it could have material tendencies in it. So yeah, this is the spiritual mindset versus the material mindset. So can anyone think of any kind of opposites of a spiritual quality versus a material quality? Can anyone think of any? Yeah. Lust and love. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one. Yeah, I would say so. So envious to others and a friend to others. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah, selfishness and selflessness. I like that. It's amazing. Thanks, guys. Okay, so that's quite interesting. There's so many different qualities, from opposites. So practically, we've got to try and kind of build these qualities, that we see in spiritualists. So we have to try and kind of be in the mode of goodness. I think, like being in the mode of goodness, we then can kind of start to slightly transcend. Once we get ourselves into the right modes. So yeah, I was reading Bhagavad Gita 4:29. It says, "One who engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord transcends mode of material nature and is immediately elevated to the spiritual platform." So it's interesting. Like even Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, Krishna is telling us, devotional service is the way we can transcend these material tendencies. And just today in class, we were speaking of this process. So the modes of material nature are influenced by materialists, and we want to kind of be in the same nature as the Supreme Lord. And to do this, we need to devotional service, and that's the link that we need to transcend the modes. So devotional service crosses us straight from material nature directly into spiritual nature. So it's very simple process. I mean, we've got things like chanting, we've got things like association, we've got things like knowledge. These all kind of build together and give us a platform to do our devotional service in the right way. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. And yeah, it's one last reflection before I end. These tendencies, they can be quite a weight, and I felt this recently in my life. These materialistic things that just creep in. You're trying your hardest to be quite pure, I guess, and so yeah, they start to creep in. So I've been doing this thing where every morning I come in front of Radha Gokulananda, and I pray for purification. I pray for all the problems. I pray for all the problems in the world to come to me, so that I can be purified of these, and there's so many material tendencies I know I have that are quite they could easily turn into like demonic behavior, It's this contemplation. Any kind of contemplation on material things can kind of bring us into a space where we could become demonic, So I come in front of Krishna and say, please don't take this. After a while, these problems come to me, and I come in front of Krishna and say, please take these problems away. And then and I'm thinking. I was thinking the other day, why am I even coming in front of Krishna and asking for him to take these away? I asked for them first. I should be asking for the intelligence to kind of get through the problem and resolve it, so I don't have to keep building these materialistic things in my life. So I thought that was quite interesting. I think it's something that, if you take anything away from this class, then please take that. Just pray to Radha Gokulananda for purification. I think that it will definitely benefit everyone. I haven't perfected it yet, but hopefully at some point. Anyway, I'll end there. Shiv Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any reflections? Go easy on me.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for your class. It's really nice. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions that the introspective sage remains alert in the night, and that's in semicolon, of the materialistic men. So if he's put this in semicolons, that means that the night is used as a metaphor or something here. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because the class I was going to give was slightly different. It was on night, so I'm fully read about this. So the introspective sage at night. So night can be taken as ignorance, and one of the main links I kind of thought of was we sleep at night, and they say like in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is called Gurukesha because he's one that's conquered sleep, and then Srila Prabhupada elaborates that is conquered ignorance. So in that way, this night refers to the ignorance basically. And then there's many things that happen at night. People do these abominable things at night, so no one else can see them. We hear this so much. So the night I think refers to ignorance, anything ignorance, and I guess materialistic things are in ignorance. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions, reflections?
Yeah, just one thing. So you're mentioning about the modes, right? And then you're talking about mode of goodness and how that can sort of help us. But I was wondering, can mode of goodness ever be like a bad thing, or can we be too fixated on it? Or I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think I think Parama Karuna probably mentioned this in class. Goodness can be, if we become prideful, through goodness. So goodness, we're not doing things for Krishna. We're still doing things for ourselves in some way. So if we're always doing things for ourselves, then we can easily get this pride in some way, and then from this pride, we can definitely be in the wrong mindset, and that can destroy us also. So the goal is to transcend the modes, so we're not influenced by anything material at all. Like I was saying, we have both tendencies. We have both materialistic and spiritual tendencies, and and if we're just able to cultivate these spiritual tendencies, then they take over. They take over the materialistic mindset. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Reflections, questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class.
Hare Krishna.
I was wondering if you can speak more on introspection. How introspection can lead to becoming more self-realized, or anything regarding introspection.
Introspection, yeah. So something that I've heard a lot of people do with introspection, they take a quality, like they think of a quality. So they might be, I don't know. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a good example. So I could be outside the temple room, and someone says something to me, and it angers me for some reason. If one way or another they've said something, and I feel very angry about it. I then, if I write down the situation, I write down why I felt angry. And then later on, I then reflect, how do I want to feel really? So it's this bridge between how I am and how I want to be. That's introspection. Introspection is trying to reveal to yourself, where are my problems? Like where are the problems I find in my life? Where am I missing? Where am I having these tendencies that I don't want? And then how to become self-realized? You just have to bridge the gap. So there's many ways. There's journaling. This is the common theme here. Everyone just mentions journaling, as introspection, and it works. If we're always reflecting on what we're good at, what we're bad at, then we're aware. Being aware is the starting point of it all. If we're not aware of it, then we're at night. We're in ignorance, So there's many ways. Journaling. I was speaking to David Prabhu the other day, and I was asking him, like, how do you introspect? And he was just saying, I don't know, Prabhu. I just do it. I automatically just do it. Like I just think about things as I go along. And you see, and you guys know David, and for the people online who don't know David Prabhu, he's he's quite quiet, and you can tell there's something that he's always thinking. You can just see it in his face that he's thinking about something, and I feel like he's always introspecting. I feel like 24 hours a day he's just introspecting on what he's doing, and he's just very slow and steady. There's no quick movements. I've seen him do so many things. Like he's just walked into I'll be sitting there studying, and he's just walked into a room. He's gone into the cupboard. He's slowly pulled something out, and then he's slowly gone out the room without making any noise. And it's so nice. I just want to be like David Prabhu. He's amazing. So yeah, in this way, people do it in different ways. You just got to try. Ananda Gopal was telling me that they just practically try many different things, and see which one works for you. We're all different, but there's no right and wrong answer with introspection. We just got to try. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, that was very interesting.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
I was just kind of meditating.
Yeah.
Sutapa Prabhu always mentions how, one has to come to a point in their life where they have no hope in material things before even the idea and the possibility of them exploring spirituality is there. So I was just kind of meditating on how, for those that are in ignorance, for those that are absorbed in ignorance, is it also possible for them to kind of, through introspection, to come to the awakening, you can say?
Yeah.
I was just kind of contemplating on that. I don't know if you have any reflection.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Thank you. I think those that are in kind of ignorance, if their karma says so, then at some point in time, I think they'll come to a point where they just hit rock bottom, and there's no way out. The more you get into ignorance, it's like a knock-on effect. So let's say let's say you're engaging in abominable activities, the karma will keep coming back. If it's not in this life, then it's in the next. So to do with ignorance, I think definitely they can transcend. Like there's many people who used to do including myself. I used to do many ignorant things. Like something as basic as sleeping. I would sleep maybe like 12, 15 hours. Sometimes on the Saturday after going out. These are ignorant things. Going out to these places at night. Clubs and bars, these are all in ignorance. I mean, they're not. I wouldn't even class them passion. I mean, passion they class as your desires. I think these are way beyond. So, but here I'm sitting, So I think many of us, many people that come into any kind of spirituality who have gone through difficulties in that way. But if it's not ignorance, then it's passion. I think their desires are controlling them, they say there's 4 types of people that come into Krishna consciousness. There's the one in distress, the one that's inquisitive, one that's for wealth, and there's another. A seeker of spiritual truth, I believe. Yeah. But in Kali Yuga, which one do you think is kind of leading? Distress. Everyone's in distress. It's even in ignorance that people have such a huge false ego. They think that everything's okay. They might be happy. They have money. They've just got some money. And they're able to spend it. That they're happy. They think they're happy. And even that, I would class it, that's complete ignorance. They're just they're in night. They're in night mode permanently. They need to definitely they need some light.
Yeah, it's like how Prabhupada says, everyone is looking for the right thing, but some people are looking for it in the wrong places.
Yeah.
So I kind of find that interesting, how some people maybe it's like they're seeking, but they may not have the sukriti to come to the absolute truth. That's quite interesting,
Yeah.
It's like, where does our preaching then fall in for the people like that?
Yeah, it's kind of like they're trying to numb the pain in some way. They're trying to just forget that the pain is there. Like you see so many people out there who might be in some kind of distress, and instead of finding something like positive, they go the complete opposite way and they just rebel against everything. And it's sad to see, but that's the world we live in. Has anyone got anything else? Perfect. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki.